Hello, hello. We are here today with Thorne Waya Davis, and we're going to go back to the basics. We don't often discuss basics here at Moira Press, but we just started to get to know Thorne, so I thought it would be a good time to kind of take advantage and go to the basics of the 12 signs. So, so what's the sign for sign anyway? So we say sign, astrology sign, star sign. It's like, so that's okay, interesting. It's not sign, it's sign. I tend to sign because the S is a letter and that's more English sign language. So this is more American Sign Language, so it's more clear. Okay, so let's start with the first sign, which is Aries. So, what do you think of when you think of Aries? How do you describe it to your clients or your students or whatever? Okay, Aries is a fire sign, obviously. So when I think about Aries, it's a spring season. And so we compare that to, it's a fire, there's a spark. You light a match and there's a spark, and it's the same idea of how we feel inspired or that internal spark of creativity or being ready for something or motivated for new projects or new activities or new goals. A new season, it's a new time, so that's spring. So so as that's the good part. There's also the kind of challenging part of Aries, which is, if there's all that fire, then it's not necessarily controlled or it's, not necessarily grounded. And that means that it could be out of control, like there could be anger or a person who challenges other people or fights, or there's, kind of aggressive discussion with that sign. And if it's fire, like a spark, it could be, you could have a grounded and in control version, and that would be a good way to approach that sign. If you feel, kind of aggressive, you can channel that energy to how we can, you know, use it better than in a negative way. Okay. Yeah, so some people's, well, it's cardinal fire, right? So it's like starting fire. So it's like I always think of Aries as supposed to start shit. You know what I mean? Like they start, they cause fires to happen. And so they're catalysts, Thorne's saying. Yes, yes, yes. So in many ways, that's a good thing. Like without Aries energy, we might be bored or not have enough energy, in a situation. So they kind of start things, whether it be discussions or projects or arguments or whatever it is, kind of thing. Yeah, and Thorne's saying, the question is how that spark wants to go, or burn, if it becomes like a wildfire, and it's burning, that's not necessarily a good thing. If it's not in control, if it's a spark that can be integrated in a good way, then that's a good thing. Yeah. It's not always about positive and negative, but it's just how that energy is used and why. Yeah. Do you want to see the Aries room in the sign dollhouse? Yes, I do want to see it. Okay. Okay. So here's the Aries room. Okay, I see it's red and yeah, and there's a gun in there. I'm not saying that's good, but many cops are Aries or more like fiery. Like the mustache of cops is very Aries, or like their hair when it's like kind of thing. But yeah, the red color, you know how people say like I saw red and then I punched that guy, it's like Aries sees red, or there's more red in the face, and yeah, they see red. So yeah, that's a thing. Okay. Okay, any more comments about Aries? Mm, there is a label of aggression with Aries. And you have to understand that I think it's often misconstrued because sometimes that aggression is good and it can be used to create change. But at the same time in society, they're always looking at the aggressiveness as bad. That's a negative thing. So, again, that's why I say, it's how you use the energy and why you use the energy is important. Yeah. Okay. A lot of energy in that one. Okay. So you got to channel it in the right way. My brother's in Aries and he invented this game called Knife Fight. It's Knife Fight with your buddy, and it's you use a red pen and it's like a red Sharpie and you have a knife fight and you're like, oh, and then where you get cut, that's where they cut you, but it's just a red pen. Ah, that's so funny. Knife fight with your buddy. Yeah, that's so Aries. Okay. And it's red too, like the color red. So, okay. All right. So, Taurus, what do you think? Okay, since Aries, it leads into it's cardinal and then it leads into Taurus, which is fixed. It's very fixed. So, I look at that Taurus is like a facilitator. Because, the Aries starts something and then Taurus is kind of tending to facilitate between for the next thing, which is Gemini. And so that middle placement is kind of facilitating and it's like, how do we pivot the energy? And it's odd because, Taurus is Earth and but it can, be channeled in a way too. Because if you think about Earth, it's earthquakes can happen, lightning, storms, things like that with trees, and the trees blowing in the wind. There's all these different things related to the analysis of Earth, geodes, for example, rocks that you find crystals there, you open them up and there's crystals. So there's other things like that are very earthbound, and that are clearly kind of Taurus things. Um, also it's not only that, but the energy related with Taurus is fertility. It's fertility and also is very creative. And generative. It makes things happen. So all of those together are so many people who have Taurus placements are typically they can have their hands, like they could be potters, they could work with clay, or they stitch work, stitch things. There's all these food is a big thing, cooking, making of things. There's all these things that have to do with Taurus. So, but yeah, I think of it as a very like peaceful sign. It's the most peaceful of all the signs to me. I would say on the negative sense, you could say, well, I don't want to be negative, but boring is Taurus, like it's just so stable as to be not moving. It's like fixed earth. It's like the most grounded, it's just very serene energy to me. But you're right, like I've known many pottery people who are Taurus and they make things and they're very earthbound and they're beautiful. I mean, beauty is one Taurus thing. It's a Venus sign, so it's like makeup, hair, earrings, nails. Nails are very Taurus. And that's not boring. I mean, I think the beauty aspect, they're just so peaceful. You know what I mean? It's like, so anyway, what were you gonna say? Plus, it's not only that pottery and making things and hair and makeup, and I would not be surprised if many hair stylists have Taurus placements in their chart. Or perhaps chefs, people who cook food, or restaurant owners. There's all these different things like that. It could really match Taurus. And then also it's related to the challenging part aspect would be Taurus would be being so grounded, right? So fixed. They're so stubborn that you could view that as a negative thing, like stubborn. But at the same time, if you want to transform that energy, and you could be, they could be more determined, more, just really motivated rather than stuck in, the stubborn part of it. So, yeah, many jobs that require same are tourist jobs. Like for example, farmers where they have to like get up all and every day it's the same where they feed the animals and they do the same thing. That's the benefit, the positive benefit of tourists. It's the sameness, the groundedness in a good way. Or like a chef, you have to open your restaurant every day and cook the food every day. And so it's like that everyday same thing is part of the gift of that, and yeah, the same idea as a CSA, a community supported, agriculture, like the food boxes, for the community, they pack up food and, yeah, yeah, food is a thing because I think from a body perspective, your ear, nose, throat is Taurus, like, and so they feel and sense and smell and hear things, yeah, they're very sensory. So in that way, that's why like the makeup and the smells they could make like perfume or something, or work with essential oils or smells, or and food, like spices are a big tourist thing. Like they can smell it and taste it. And so that's the beautiful thing. Yeah. Do you want to see the tourist room? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Oh, I see. It's kind of pink and brown. There's food. There's food. There's a croissant. Yeah, I see that. Yeah. Um, But nature is very Taurus. Many Taurus people like to go out in nature, and the colors are kind of sepia tone, brown, tan, like twigs and, you know, like brown, brown. So it's like, seeing sand or the beach, like all that nature color is very Taurus. Oh, that's interesting because with Taurus, I tend to relate that with green and pink, both of those, because of nature. Oh, and brown, um, tan, sepia. I could see that. I could see that where that matches. Because like, for example, a fence, um, is wood, so I could imagine that. Yeah, yeah. Or you know, where there's roots and, things like that and fencing. Yeah, yeah. And I think for Caucasian white Taurus people, the skin tone is very, like, it's very like skin, like a lot of Taurus, like women would be like more like skin, and it's like the skin tone is, well, even with brown, cultural people, I would say that Taurus is kind of like the browns of skin too. Yeah, it varies. Yeah. So I do think skin tone is Taurus, like Taurus tends to show a lot of skin. Um, and it's like the opposite is Scorpio, which is like goth, and they're like covered in black. There's like no skin tone at all. Oh, that's funny that you mentioned that because I would imagine that Scorpio is more willing or, risking to show more skin because of the tattoos and the piercings, and they're more kind of assertive with their bodies, the body mods, where Taurus is more kind of peaceful and kind of, so. Maybe they're shy to show their bodies, maybe. It's interesting. Yeah. Well, I think Scorpio maybe shows the body for different reasons than Taurus. Like Taurus is maybe showing like skin and then nails, because that's at the top of the hands is that Taurus part of the body. It's like right there. So I always think those women with their big nails are very Taurus. Yeah, for sure. That's Yeah, they're femmes. Yeah, the femmes. Yeah, but like male Taurus is like stone masons and they're like power lifters, like oh, Yeah, or court queer you like their quartz mining, like they do quartz mining or digging or things like that. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah. So interesting. Okay. I think we'll probably get through 6 signs today that will leave them wanting more. Yeah, I think that would be good. 6 would be good. Yeah, good go. Um, okay, other comments about Taurus. Okay, next. Okay, no, I feel good about that. Okay, Taurus. Okay, Gemini. Okay, Gemini. Okay, so that's mutable. It's, mutable. So it's a first of the air signs, and that transitions between the spring to summer, that's a transition. Uh and Gemini, it's just their duality is a thing with them. And twins and twinning and all that internal, it's like having more than one self, more than one way of thinking. So more than one system, um, all these things. That's Gemini. There's many times that I've seen in books they describe Gemini as like what? Like either messengers or butterflies of the zodiac, because the butterflies will, pollinate they'll touch all the different parts of the ecosystem. And, or, bees are a similar idea. They pollinate flowers and things like that. So it's a similar idea of the kind of, stars like that. So, now, as far as Gemini goes, I would say it's related to the arms and the hands and the lungs, and communicate. These are communicators. They might talk in sign language, write, um, interact. They might publish things, marketing. There's all these things, Gemini things. These are all Gemini things. So we can thank Geminis for language itself. For thinking of ideas and, philosophy, and there's all these things. Those are all Gemini things. So we can really appreciate and thank that sign, for Gemini. Yeah. Gemini, like if it's connected with the arms and hands and the throat chakra too. It's like I always think of Gemini as blue, light blue, and it's like that throat chakra is blue, and it's like and the oxygen, like these veins are blue, and so it's like it's very high oxygen in the blood. They can handle data, language, numbers. They're just like high oxygen in the blood. From the ancient, yeah, their mind spins really fast. Like the ancients would, they talk about the humors, which are the densities of the blood, and they would say that air humor is very oxygenized, and it's like very fast moving blood, and it's like, and so like that's where that mind gets all that information. But yeah, like math, science, anything language is Gemini. N- Teachers, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so you're a Gemini sun, right? And Mercury in the 11th, and I'm a Gemini rising. Okay, so we're both Gemini. And do we ever run out of things to talk about? No, never, never, never. That's one thing I really appreciate, that our conversations are always very thoughtful, and they don't feel like we need to, there's no dead air. I'm not afraid of dead air. Always they're very thoughtful in our conversations, where it feels like if you need, if a stop happens, it means that we are thinking and we're planning as far as to offer up the next thought. Yeah. Yeah, I think if you want to have a good conversation, Gemini is your person. Yeah, yes, I agree. I agree with you. Now, that includes emails, like talking, texting. Do you think Geminis are good texters? Oh yeah, it is true. It's really funny because so many people, have come up to me and said like, you quickly text me back. Wow, you quickly text me back. And I'm like, that's normal. I typically, if I'm interested in a conversation and I like you and I like the vibe, then it's natural that I will immediately text you back. Now, if I notice that I'm maybe, more conflicted about how I feel about you, then I might be slower to text you back. Yeah, typically I'm very fast in response time. Yeah, I also am a Facebooker. And for me, as a Gemini rising, it's like I like to go on there and run, like, like talk with many people at the same time. And I like to pose questions and let the people talk. Do you think asking a good question is a Gemini trait? Yeah, I think Geminis are good at being able to look at things from different perspectives. Therefore, we can be skilled with opening the open-ended questions. We can throw out a question and then see what happens, uh, as far as the discussion goes. Yeah. So here's a funny story. One time I was in the hospital and I was very sick, and my nurse was a Gemini. And she would not stop talking. Like I was so sick. Like I didn't want to hear word. Like I was just like looking through a fishbowl. You know what I mean? When you're just so sick and you're like, and she was just like, "Ba, ba, 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 ba," ba. And it's like the frequency was just like killing me. It was just like, ah, like. So it's interesting. The frequency of Gemini is like, it's like high. Yes, it's true. It's high. And at the same time, I do notice that most Geminis can code switch. They can bring it down where it depends, they can adjust that frequency, but still be honest with the nature I mean, let's be honest that the nature of it is very high frequency, but they can adjust. I think the other signs don't have that same kind of ability to kind of code switch like that, but they do have it, but they just express it differently than Gemini. Um, you know, well, I notice it really depends on the Gemini. Like we have water moons. Okay, so we're water moon Geminis. That means we can feel when a person needs that Gemini like talking and when they don't, like when they need more like humming or like or music or something. But many Geminis have no water in the chart, right? Like yeah, that's rare. But like if you get like a Gemini with fire strong in the chart or all air or whatever, they're just that high frequency, like chitter chatter person who's just like, oh, and they like never really bring it down. So I think it depends on the whole chart, but you're right, they probably can calibrate, what they do, you know. Also, I think since we both have water moons, um, it's not only that, but it's, I'm a triple Leo, I'm a fire, so it means that I can kind of transition back and forth more, and it's more flexible than most Geminis because most Geminis don't have a lot of fire either. Yeah. It's interesting. And I think it's important to look at the Mercury sign too, because what kind of communicator? Like I have Mercury in Scorpio, so I'm very like, like I'm just like, yeah, fronting you're deep. Yeah. And I'm like black, I'm just like, like I'm making like epic statements like all the time. And you're more Gemini Mercury, which is like kind of more light and always interesting, but more light frequency, and I'm just more heavy a little bit. But for any person, if you have strong Gemini, you have a strong throat chakra. But then what style that would be the Mercury sign, do you think? Yeah, I feel that Mercury, the sign overlays the style of expression. So that does show with how they'll both come up. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That can be said for all the signs. Like if it's Aries, where's your Mars? And if it's Taurus, where's your Venus? That shows more about the style of the sign or the sign. And it's not only that, but also it shows, a relationship of the house, where does that come up, which house and how do we want to express it and all that overlay. Yeah, yeah, the rulership shows a house connection too. That's a good point. Okay, do you want to move on? Oh, do you want to see the room? All right, let's see the Gemini room. Okay. It's blue and green, and there's books. There's measuring tools and, yeah. Many workers like wood carpenters or house engineer like architects or mechanics and things like that are Gemini. Yeah. That's a thing with Gemini because they like to work on shapes and they like to work with, you know, just analyzing things and expressing a lot of teachers, a lot of writers, a lot of interpreters, many translators are Geminis. Oh yeah, for sure, 100%. I've met many sign language interpreters who are Geminis, you know. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. And also not only interpreters, but also translators or note taker, transcriptionists or transcriber people, things like that. Yeah, that's true. Okay, Cancer. Okay, Cancer. What do you think? What do you think about Cancer? Well, we're moving down the body to the waters of the chest. So it's the water around the lungs, the water around the heart, the water around the stomach. So it's the water all over here. So they're kind of like, ooh, like they'll see you and they'll be like, oh, like I want to hug you, or they can be like, the protective side of Cancer is like, many boxers are Cancers because they're like, like, yeah, they're the most protective of their self and their face, so they'll punch you. But like it's the most crafting of all the signs, like crocheting, knitting. It's like it's a rolling wave because it's water, so it's like rolling like this, and it's the pincher, like Gemini goes down the arms like this, but Cancer goes down the arms to the pincher, like pinch and sew or crochet or cut and collage or, cooking. Many people say that the cooks are the Cancers, but that's the stomach and, that like knife skills are very pinch and cut. It's this muscle right here. Yeah, many chefs, yeah, they do. Yeah, for food prep. Yeah. Like Mars and Cancer, you see knife skills like all the time. There's like chop, chop, chop. Um, yeah, that's beautiful for sure. So I think of it as, it's a water sign, so it's very emotional. It feels things. I've seen many musicians with Cancer strong. I knew a triple Cancer, sun, moon, and rising. And she's passed away, but she had an all square Pluto and she had really bad Crohn's disease in the intestines and she died. I mean, like, bless her heart. Anyway, but she would play guitar and you could feel the water coming off, like, it's like it was like the tone was beautiful. So you can feel the water right here. There's like a lot of plasma in the aura here, you know. So I would assume that many sound or vibrational healers or practitioners could have that Cancer tendency. Yes, yes, yes. So you have a Cancer moon. What do you think of Cancer? Yeah, I have a Cancer moon and Venus and Jupiter, and they're all in my 12th house. Yeah. Yeah. I would imagine, let's see, Cancer is it's very emotional. But it's fascinating because in general society, they say, "Oh, you're emotional. That's a negative thing. You're very sensitive." And I'm like, "No, no, no. My sensitivity is my superpower." Okay, actually, it is saving my butt. It saved my butt many times, actually. Yeah. So because typically that sensitivity is connected with energy, and uh, and feeling that, the environment. And if I walk into a room, most of the time I can immediately feel it. Oh, this is good vibes. These are good people. That's fine. That's comfortable. If it's kind of weird and awkward, it's tense, I will immediately feel that too, and then have to block myself and protect myself. So, I feel that that's part of Cancer. It's their magic. Yeah. It's interesting because crying, that book, The Secret Life of Water, like there's that scientist and he analyzed water and he would like play mean music to the water molecules and they would get all bent out of shape. And that happens to like cancer people. They get like all like the water in their chest gets all, bent out of shape, if someone vibes them the wrong way or someone's mean to them. And so crying is a way to clean out the cancer organ. It's like you have to cry and then like everything readjusts, I think. Oh, that's fascinating because crying is not really my thing. Mhm. But you know, when I was young, my family went through a big upheaval and there was rape and I cried and cried and cried and cried and then I kind of ran out of tears and there was no more tears and I just kind of ran out and I was done with that. So I won't be crying, it's like I wasn't worth crying over that anymore. So anyway, then I grew up and I noticed that really with the crying or if I was showing tears, it's like that means that I was opening up, I was vulnerable. It's a vulnerability for me. So now if it really happens that it means I'm really feeling a lot, I need to really release something and get it out. Now you have to understand, well, therefore, that means I must feel safe first in order for that to happen. That's the emotional security piece of Cancer. You must have safety first, before I can really open up and give of myself. Yeah. This is interesting. We did a Cancer class, a master class at Moira Press, and that was an interesting one. We are looking at all the positives and negatives of Cancer, but really positives. But it's like, you know, the commitment of Cancer is really interesting. Like, yeah, they're a long-term person. Like with family, you see Cancer staying with, their person, their kid, like that mom Cancer vibe. Yeah, supports the kid. It doesn't like leave if something hard happens, doesn't leave. It stays. And so I think Cancer can be positive because it's so committed, but that can become negative if you're committed to something bad for you. So yeah, I would rather not label it as negative, but more of a challenge, that part for Cancer of where if there's a lot of sensitivity related to something, or someone, or it's that dynamic becomes complex and it can become more challenging, for the Cancer person to kind of, how do I switch and traverse this? Is it good for me in the long term, or do I need to change my relationship with this dynamic or, kind of thing? So it's fascinating. Yeah. Yeah. It's an interesting sign. But I love it for the crafts. Like if you want to make a Cancer happy, bring them to Michael's Crafts. Like they're just like, oh, like everything that's cute. You're like, oh, 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 Yeah, for me, that Cancer part is like, if you want to make my Cancer part happy, bring me my favorite treat or let me, take me to my favorite craft store or bookstore, and I will be awesome. I will be awesome. And aesthetics as well. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good with that. Okay, you want to see the room? There's food. There's not much in the Cancer room. I need to build it up. Um, but that circle was given to me by a super Cancer person for protection. So I like put it there. It's like Cancer always wants to protect you. I think a lot of witch coven spiritual people are Cancers. They're like protecting you from evil spirits and, kind of thing. Um, Not only that, but I think also many recognize or, many, underestimate the Cancer for how good they are, how skilled your spell crafting and protection things or wards or knowledge of how to set up things, with energy, space and energy and things like that. So we do have that intuition, that type of awareness, even if we can't see the energy, but we feel it, we can, it becomes tangible for us. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I can verify that because it's one of my tendencies that I'm really strong in is the energy is tangible for me. It's something you can literally touch and it's rare, but it does hit that I can, taste energy. So it's interesting because, it's very rare, but if it happens, I know that's something I have to pay attention to, or why am I experiencing this? Moment and how can I work with this? Or why is it, it's cool. And I've met maybe one or two or three or four uh other people who can actually taste energy at the same time. So it's like, oh my God, you've experienced that too. I've experienced that similarly. So that's a nice to have that affirmation. Oh, that's a new one to me. I don't know. Wow, wow. Yeah, I don't advertise it, but yeah. Hmm. Okay, cool. I'll be asking you how things taste in the future. Sure. Okay, we have Leo now. Um, okay, it's your turn. What do you think? Okay, it's my turn. Hmm. I would say Leo is fixed. It's a sun sign of the sun, and also like I said, for Gemini. Wait, let's see. Gemini, Cancer. It's the last mutable. So then there's Taurus is the facilitator for Earth. That means that Leo's the it's the facilitator with fire. And that's a thing. So how I describe Leo is that it's the sun, it's warmth, it's brightness. Because the sun is, the ruler of Leo. And also Leo is, it's a misunderstood sign because many people label Leo as big-headed and Leo is like, look at me, and Leo is, like, oh, I like to be famous. And it's like, well, in some ways it is true, that could be true. But another perspective is that Leo has a big heart. It's very open-hearted and warm. Um, and it's very gender fluid. It's very generous. Sorry, that was an interpreter error. Generous. Um, yeah, so yeah, it's generous. But very loyal as well. That giving warmth it shares. It's not selfish. So also about, about bravery, because courage is the courage is they have a big heart and things like that. So that's part of where I've noticed that most evolved Leos, they have that aspect where they can really connect with the bravery and the openness to be kind of service and offer that. And They haven't, and the uninvolved Leo is more selfish, is more kind of like, look at me, that variety, maybe big-headed, and they haven't really ground connected with that part that's more open-hearted and, kind of cherishing of things. So, well, that was a good one. I'm happy you went first. Okay, well, I would just add to that, that from a like a chakra perspective, I think they have a strong solar plexus, that the will chakra. It's orange, and Leo is orange, and the sun is at home in Leo. It's a big orange ball in an orange sign. So it's like it's very like strong, right here. And so they get critiqued for that because they're like, whoa, like look at me like but really they just have a strong will. Like, they're just built strong. And so I think I like what you're saying about warmth. One of my like best friends is a Sun Mars Leo, and he is so warm. Like I can feel heat going bam. If he gets mad, it's like burn, bam. Like, like that's a Mars in Leo. It's like burn. Like, but it's like heat right here in the heart. And like you're saying, a big heart. Like I think if you looked inside his chest, you'd see a big heart, just like boom, 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 So I think you're right. It's like the kind of giving, warm is Leo. And the ability to stand up and not be taken down. Like people criticize Trump all day long, and I agree. Like, I mean, I understand. But his Mars and Leo rising, and he can't be taken down. Like, it's like he's strong. He's a Gemini sun. I know, but I'm just saying what's positive about Leo is that it's strong. Like it won't be, it's fixed fire. It's like, no thanks, I'll stand here and burn. Thank you. It's like, you know. Right. Also, what I'm offering to that piece is in that position of power, privilege, it's like I won't be taken down. Um, I would offer to that where are you using that energy? Are you using it for your own selfish gain, or are you using it to relate and understand, people and community, and, support people, with community, So, it's odd because, in this case, the Gemini sun with that in the government position, it's like, I don't know. It's not good. It's not good. Yeah, yeah. Well, we don't want to like harbor on politics, but I was using that as an example of the strength of Leo is one of its positive sides. I think, when you see someone standing on stage acting, for example, you have to be strong of heart to stand there and be looked at, and so, and I think that opposite sign of Aquarius is like in the perfect situation, we have someone showing off with Leo for the good of all concerned, which is the community. Like a teacher stands in front of the class for the whole class so that the whole class can have fun. So that's Leo at its best. Or like, a comedian, or a jester. Okay. Yeah, like fun is Leo, like fun, so in my case, I think it's interesting because I have a Leo rising and Mars and Saturn in my first, and it's oftentimes I've experienced that like I want to be playful, I want to have fun, but at the same time it's Saturn. So it's like it's be responsible, and you have to remember how to shift is interesting. Yes, Saturn and Leo would be tough. Like it makes me want to give you like a lion, like a lion bling huge, and just be like, show your inner lion. Oh, like like yeah, that needs a remediation. I would accept that. I would accept that bling. Okay. Do you want to see the room? It's really sparse, but look. Oh, that matches it perfectly. All I have is a lion in there and it's orange. It matches perfectly. I like that because it shows the expansiveness, you know, of the spaciousness of that, where it's Leo, it's like presence. It's just like there you are, bling, kind of thing. So yeah, it's cool. Yeah, it's like anyway, let's go on. We have 9 minutes left. So Virgo, is it my turn? It's my turn. Okay, so from a chakra perspective, I think of Virgo is given to this side chakra right here. It's one of the minor chakras. It's not a main chakra, but it governs the intestines and it's like the pancreas. It's like spinning there like in their body. It's an earth sign, so it's very body grounded, but it's like it's very particular. Like it can feel everything that it ate. It ate something and then it can feel it going through. It's like, oh, I ate that. That was too much of this or too much of that. It's like very particular. When I make Virgo beads, I make the wheat on the chaff because it's like they're supposed to separate the wheat from the chaff, which is like they're supposed to take something and make it useful, like with their particular nature, it's they make the world useful. Um, I love, I'm a Pisces moon, so I'm opposite to Virgo, and I've had many relationships with Virgo people. They love to critique me. Okay. So do I like that? Well, um, I've learned to deal with it because it's like with the Virgo critique, you can become industry level at a thing, so it's like they're very industry standard, like let's do that a little better, better, better. They can be very humble. They're of service. It's like I critiqued you of service, that was for your best good, but they tend to in a challenging way focus on being perfect, and nothing is perfect, the Pisces moon wisdom is like no thanks on perfect, like we're just trying, we're flowing, and they're just like perfect, perfect must be perfect, so I think they're very detail focused and that's good. They're great at doing practical things like printing papers, uh you know um bookbinding. Yeah, they do all the things that need to happen to make the vision become true, So they're really like everyone should have a few Virgos to help them. You know what I mean? That's true. So what do you think? Well, I could add with Virgo is like for one, Virgo and Gemini both have they're controlled by Mercury. So both of them have that relationship there with Mercury for communication and expression. And Virgo is very earthy with that. They're very thoughtful and very slow, actually. They're more slow paced. Whereas Gemini is really quick paced. It's the air version of that. So it's just really expressive really quickly. So that's interesting. But I do feel that Mercury relationship can cause pleasure between both of those, so it's like where Gemini, the Mercury can learn how to say, okay, I can slow down a little bit, and the Virgo Mercury can say, oh right, I need to learn how to speed it up a little bit more. So it's nice to have that flow. Yeah. And I can say that for one, because one of my best friends is a Virgo, Dana. So anyway, we have that Mercury relationship. It's obvious, and it's funny because I do feel that Gemini and Virgo typically can have crushes on each other, but then they're best friends after that. It's true in my case. For me, I have a crush on several Virgos and in different ways. And then I think, and then they realize, oh no, it's not them. It's not that, it's this. We're best friends. So I was think of the Mercury of Virgo as being bodily, like it's it's like Mercury from the body, like here it's like talking from the body, hmm, whereas Gemini's talking from here, like ooh, and Virgo's like like, and they're always making lists. They have list after list and diagrams. Like they're very mechanical. I've known many like auto mechanic guy or people in general, but like our Virgo, so mechanical is a thing. Very good with like schematic diagrams. In astrology, they're very good at like timing and the particular parts and the math part and things like that. So for sure, many science teachers or you know, um, tax people, tax collectors, or uh, like things that require occupations that require things, or like even secretaries. Yeah, they have to have, Virgo strong there. Yeah, they're always being of service. I don't want to say it's a servile sign, but it's kind of in the dom sub realm. It's sub. It's like, how can I help you? How can I help you? Like they're not very big headed. They're very like, yes, they're very like willing to be of service. Yeah. Like, but same times they do have their kind of strength and they will stand up. Yeah, if I feel that they're taking advantage of it, oh, they'll stand up for that. Yeah. I don't know of any narcissist Virgo people. Yeah, same. Yeah. They're much like what they're like all like what? I'm just helping the world. I'm just helping the world, I know one who has Leo rising, and so there's a little bit more of that, but it's I don't know. Yeah, Virgo is very humble to me, you know. Yeah, very. Also, Virgo likes, from my perspective, which is general, likes to find how to make something beautiful with structure and how to use it to make, regular use things become beautiful at the same time. Yeah, they do make the world very beautiful. Like, you know, with organization and all this stuff. So here's an example. My boyfriend Shane, he's Virgo rising, double Virgo. And I make all these bead flower bouquets, and I was making them and he's like, maybe you could braid this. And he braids it up and then it looks perfect. And I was like, oh, mine was a little sloppy, like it was my idea, but it was sloppy, so it's interesting. And many of them are connected with the body, like Casey, Casey, who's our astrokinesiologist, Virgo rising, very mechanical, body focus, like fix, it's like an auto mechanic almost. Yeah, that's true. And also, I would imagine that the body, body workers, a lot of them would have Virgo elements in their chart. Yeah, for sure. That's true. Well, you want to see the room? It's very mechanical. Oh, yeah. It's very mechanical, but not cold. It feels very streamlined. Yeah, and the square shapes, the square, it's like linear. Yeah. Everything's kind of streamlined, but it feels cozy in its own way. Yeah, for sure. Well, this has been a great discussion. Yes, just to add a last thing before we wrap it up. It's interesting because I found that for me in my chart, I have Virgo in two, and there's no planets there. But with resources on two, it's interesting because sometimes I find myself thinking, how can I really develop a relationship more with that, even if there's nothing there, it's kind of neutral. So then I start thinking about how these Virgos in general do things, and I find myself thinking, how can I apply that? It's interesting. It's interesting. Yeah, I think you have a very Virgo way of handling money. Like I have a friend who has Mars in Virgo in the second house, and she keeps this like ledger, like everything's like, but it's like you're kind of like it's like you're like like about your money, like you're kind of like always have it like you're kind of tidy with money. I don't know, it's interesting. You're kind of like, yeah, that's for sure. And I do have my apps for my bank and my money and everything like that. I do have all that set up, and so I know which I'm using and when. So yeah, that's for sure. Well, this has been a great discussion. I think people really enjoy seeing their sign through your eyes and our eyes. So our perspectives, yes. All right. Well, I love you. I love you too. And I'll see you next time. Okay, next week we're gonna have a special guest. All right, it's a surprise. All right, good. So it's a good surprise, of course. All right, bye.